We are better off with mediocre engineers. At least they will listen to us. Who has moved up the hierarchy? People who are not the best of engineers.
Executives will still try and poke holes in that. That's what they're really good at. Seeing if this is bullshit, if this is fluff, or if it's actually thought through, well-reasoned.
As a great engineer, you should not aspire only to remain a one-man army unless you want to start a startup and change the world. The minute you say, no, I want to handle the most important and the complicated part first, almost 50% wins away. Don't try to give a business case in a tech language. Just make it simple.
Today, I'm joined by Anand Sahay, Global CEO over at Xebia, and on that executive level, we discuss what great engineering leaders do that really makes them excel. Next to that, we discuss career paths for great software engineers, and we discuss what is more important now, more so than ever, for tech people. I was talking to Gregor Hope, also on the podcast, and he said something that really stuck with me, because he says the people on certain executive levels, their time is limited. So as a software engineer or an architect in this case, when you pitch to them, make sure your idea is sound. Start with the most important part, and then executives will still try and poke holes in that. That's what they're really good at. Yeah. Seeing if this is bullshit, if this is fluff, or if it's actually thought through, well-reasoned, and it's not necessarily to poke holes, but just to actually see,
go
can
deeper.
We trust it?
That's the best way. Just go deeper.
Yeah. And you do that on a level with regards to the people you interact with. Very interesting.
And that's where my tech background helps. So I can go deeper if you want into an idea of tech. Why? Why do you think I should do this? Why should we start this? There's always things like, we should start this.
Yeah.
Okay, but why? Why not? What we have. Let's put the money on what we have against starting something new. Because then what we have will get less funding, and what is new will get that.
Yeah.
So what is the why? Why this? Why should I do it? And that's always complicated. Because the passion is showing up. We must start it. And they usually talk to different guys and say, there is business. So again, we must start it. And then you see the passion in their eyes of wanting to do it. And this is where you make those calls. I don't like it, but I'll still give it because the guy is too passionate about it sometimes. Because I'm like, okay, 100K, he's too passionate about it, this group of people. To cut this off, although I'm not understanding what they're saying, will be demoralizing to those guys. Might as well just give it.
Interesting. Yeah.
But then the other guy is like 250K, $500,000. Nah. Why don't you do a smaller cut of it?
Yeah.
Proof to that. So quite a lot of times you are investing just to keep the morale high and keep people feel that they are heard, whereas they haven't given a compelling reason. It's not compelling. Although passion is showing, but it's not compelling.
Yeah.
And so those are the calls you have to keep making.
Gotcha. In the engineering leaders or in the conversations that you have with engineering leaders, what do you see that makes them really excel in what they do for others to learn from?
So when you use the word engineering leaders, how would you
CTOs, engineering managers, people that are quite technical and that have made it up quite high on the hierarchy career ladder?
Keeping it simple. The lucidity of explaining why this needs to be done and how it will give you a real outcome changes the game.
Really?
Yeah.
So simple as that?
Yeah, because complexity, you can always make me go mad with complexity. And which is a problem with a lot of good engineers, that it almost becomes a tech talk.
Yeah.
And you don't get it. That exactly what is he trying to get at? Right? I mean, I always give the example of microservices, right? So, I mean, microservices is not fit in every place because I understand service mesh and microservices. So I'm like, do you really need a microservice here?
Yeah.
But every tech is excited to write microservices. I'm talking about 2 years back. Let's do it in microservices. But why? Right? So these are the kind of things. People who talk too much tech, I get very, very worried at a senior level.
Yeah.
Don't try to give a business case in a tech language. Just make it simple. Yeah. And some people are very good at it.
But then
they're trying to achieve this. this is the right tech for it, because also comparing and contrasting against some of the other tech, and then say, if you do this, these are the savings which can naturally come for the customer. Okay. At least you can visualize what is it. And then obviously we go back and do our own work.
Yeah.
It's not that we heard and we are saying, okay, then we go back and then we do a bit of searching, Googling on some of the ideas, because even when it's lucid, there are a few things which you are not fully aware. So there's a lot of homework for us, if you ask me. It's not that it just you tell me and I'm like, okay, let's put 100K on it, right? I mean, you go back and you
Of
read.
course.
And sometimes you give call to another guy you respect in tech and say, hey, is this something you are also following? And once you see your own reading and these couple of good guys, and then I think the guy was exactly spot on.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people that are early in career, they do try and reason a lot from a tech level. So when you're saying as you move up and as you go more senior, keeping things simple and I think also tailored towards your audience, even though I think your reasoning needs to be sound and well argued, there is a risk nowadays that a lot of people can cut corners because you have this magical box, which is large language models. You ask a question, it pops out with an answer. I feel like the better you do your homework, the more credible you will be, because the people that will cut corners, they will actually fall through and the cracks will show 100%. In their story.
Because I see it all the time. People use the LLM to give me an answer. You read and you know the structure and you know this is coming out of somewhere else.
Instantly.
The problem is the answers from the LLM are always well structured that it almost looks true.
Of course. Yeah.
Right? And there's enough prompting to be done to get to the core of it. And some do it great, but some just give you a superficial, very well written. So you are more impressed by the well written part. And now I question it because I know it's coming from somewhere who nobody understands. And so I'm like, okay, this won't work for me.
Yeah.
Because then there has to be a better. So but people who know what they're talking, their structure of talking and sending you a mail is very different than those which comes from LLM.
Yeah,
it's almost instantaneously, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's going to get better. But so simple and simplicity, that's one of the key factors there. Anything else?
I think for me, this has all, and then obviously I'm hoping the person also knows that the simplicity with which you explain me a problem and the solution which you are giving makes sense against the problem you are solving with respect to money. Right? I mean, for example, in Western world, in Netherlands, if it reduces 5 people because of the automation or putting together that application, value of that is totally different if you have the same application in India to be built. Cost of resources are different.
Yeah. It's just a fact.
Yeah. And if you're not aware of that, so within the same problem statement, in one region, a bank in India, their way of looking at that problem will be completely different than a bank in Netherlands.
Yeah.
But the cost structures are different. So a CIO must also, or C-level people must also have that understanding. It's not about automating when 10 humans are cheaper than that automation.
Yeah.
And the automation creates certain risks unless you tell me the full picture.
Yeah, how to mitigate it.
Yeah. Otherwise, and that happens a lot. That happens a lot. You go to a customer in Vietnam and talk about, how I can help you with reducing the check frauds, right? And give you the risk that X percentage will not work. The guys will say, yeah, but I have 50 people in that department and humans are much better in identifying a fraud because of certain things, how you pay and everything, whereas an automation can miss it. And then you will keep a team of 5 people who will constantly improve. So my total cost of ownership of this is much higher. So contextually, you always have to see what are you solving and What is the advantage?
Yeah. I feel like in my career, I've always seen two types of engineers.
Yeah.
So the engineer, and I see myself in there, that is very curious, not just about tech, but also business and outcomes. And I get way more energy of achieving certain business outcomes than necessarily how we do it in tech.
Yeah.
But then in the inverse, people that grew up with tech that maybe have started coding when they were 10, they really love how they code.
Yes.
And it's a big part of their skill set, and it's a big part, has become part of their identity. And I feel like the latter might not be well equipped to actually then move up the career ladder, because you do need to compromise on certain quality aspects of the tech you are creating to actually see how you can accelerate your business outcomes and more think from a problem standpoint and not from a solution standpoint.
So you hit a extremely important point. Great engineers, those who started at 10, are absolutely the ones who you love when they are in the initial part of their thing because they are showing magic.
Yeah.
But they quickly become a bit of a difficult people when you try to see it in the context of outcomes. Because it's all about them. It's all about what is interesting to them. And business outcomes actually takes a back seat. And then over a period of time, you begin to see, and I'm talking about non-tech management, that we are better off with mediocre engineers. At least they will listen to us, and potentially, because they are not great in their engineering hand, potentially they begin to start appreciating the business outcome more.
Yeah.
And hence together, they seem to look better. But in the reality, they look better to finish a program, to finish a project at a certain cost in which management wants. But have they given the optimal solution? Have they given us what was possible? Gets lost.
Yeah.
And that is why I always say, unless good and great engineers don't grow up the ladder, and some go into CI and TO, and some going into general management, is crucial for the actual impact of building great software with a business outcome mindset.
Yeah.
Because they are the ones who will be able to achieve that. Otherwise, a non-tech manager, by and large, becomes a business money guy.
Yeah. It's
And
just
for
the
him-
person with the money.
Yeah, for him, a tech guy is a necessary evil because these engineers are difficult. My God, we have to retain them. So the discussion from outcome becomes more about, can we keep them happy till the project ends? And that has to change. It's a necessity.
Yeah.
And the loss to the world because of this is enormous. And I have been thinking about it for quite a number of years. That good guys, and imagine, I mean, I'm just thinking if Elon Musk and some of these guys must have been awesome techies with a brilliant mind of being an outcome thinkers, see how they are changing the world.
Yeah.
Look at the impact of them on the society. And I think every great engineer should try to see what they can do about it. There should be great engineers mentoring them to think like that and not quickly take it towards culture. I'm not happy. It's not me. They have to get away from these things. And if they begin to learn this early, and they are great engineers, I mean, you have to mix it up in some way or other, and somebody needs to mentor them. The impact, the net impact, which can happen of these people growing up to become senior management is enormous and exponential, in my view.
Yeah. I've been wondering, within organizations and within enterprise, me personally, I have a lot of ambition and I have no clue what I want to do with my career. So I turned 30 this year. So especially 30 is like a midlife crisis. I was thinking either I'm going to stay within enterprise or I'm going to do startup or even maybe content creation outside of enterprise. But within enterprise, I think it's good if you get into a position where you're incredibly valuable, where you are a multiplier.
Yes.
And the people that are really good in tech, there is now a career path where you can stay as individual contributor and you will still be, I think, a really good multiplier.
Yes.
Because people will come to you for answers, you will still enable other people and you will be hands-on.
Correct.
And then there is the other path, which is the one you're mentioning. You move up the career ladder. you either become a manager or you become a C-level tech person.
Yeah.
And from that aspect, I think it's still a multiplier, but it just is amplified even more towards an organization. And from that perspective, there's only so many people on C-level. I feel like you become irreplaceable in that way.
Oh, 100%.
To an organization.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think every large company today, if you look at the top of the pyramid, you will find those tech guys, those engineers who just understood how the world works, how the company is funded, where is the money coming from, what is important to the customers, what is important to society. Those kind of people are the ones who are at the top of the play.
Yeah.
And I think that should be a single most important aspiration for all budding techs who love the idea of writing, the craftsmanship is natural in them, right? Who naturally want to do something great with the software, but have a larger view or have built a larger view of how the company functions, who begin to appreciate. One of the other things which you will see, Patrick, is quite a lot of software engineers have a problem that they're so good in what they do that they begin to get a blind spot that I know better how finance works.
Oh, I've seen that.
I know better how managers work.
Yeah.
I know better how a CEO should work.
It's arrogance.
Yeah, it almost borders arrogance. So I think it is very important to understand that the people who are in the other field and have grown, they must also be having some intelligence in their field. And can I learn their point of view? I think that itself very quickly will allow other functions to invite them in their problems. Today, the senior management or the managers of different departments want to avoid it because they think the conversation will go nowhere.
If someone is very headstrong.
Yeah. Or if I discuss my real problems, he will go out and say, wow, this company, they talk like this. Money seems to be the only thing which matters to them. Well, how the world works, right? What is a capex investment? What is a opex investment? Has a direct bearing of how softwares are built.
Yeah, definitely.
And you have to appreciate it. You cannot just say that I don't care about these things. These are so somehow opening their minds to how the world works, how the money flows, what is the financial architecture, Ian Mill, financial architecture of software is crucial. And it's not tough to appreciate. You just have to be, I almost want every awesome engineer to get those 1 week as finance function. Go and see what they do. And if they are open to learning, these guys will become the future very quickly.
Yeah, it's a big if, right? And it's very interesting because software engineers, it's hard for me to compare to other industries.
Yeah.
But they can be like mini entrepreneurs. They really take a task, a problem, they create something, and it has direct, sometimes impact to users, to customers, to financial parts of industries. Which also means that, there is kind of an innate arrogance that grows with people. I've seen it. I feel like, and maybe this is a personal trait, I like to be humble. I like to say, this is kind of what I know or what I think I know. I like to talk and say very explicitly, these are assumptions that I have. I like to be explicit with my language. And it's very inviting to then another person to chime in, and I like to co-create. For me, it's very daunting to say I am the only person that knows. And if I fall back, then the whole organization crumbles. From an engineering standpoint, I don't think that should ever be a case. That's a risk for an organization.
100%.
Yeah.
So I think if we can get an ecosystem running in the world where we can create, I don't know, it has to start with education, where you can sort of encourage great engineers. And I use the word great engineers all the time because mediocre engineers, by and large, are more aware of some of the systematic issues.
Okay.
Because one, they don't want to be confrontational. So they begin to understand the point of view, either by the choice that they don't have a choice or because they listen more because they know I'm not a know-all person. And as a result, become naturally you will see them being pulled up into the hierarchy. But what is happening, that suboptimality is growing up the hierarchy.
Yeah, that's also a risk.
And that's a huge risk.
Yeah.
So by the time they are hitting a CIO function, you can imagine what is the devastating impact on the organization. And I always use the word society at large, because we have to see with every function become tech, government becomes tech, unless we get the right people there, and if we allow suboptimal engineering mind to go there, even if they are humble, it has a direct impact of how you are solutioning the larger problems of the world. And I think that must be understood by the best of them, the best of the techies.
Yeah.
That in the end, I want to be an engineer who makes an impact to the society.
Yeah.
And I want to really encourage, the more I talk to other engineers who are quickly spotted, and in Xebia I think we have a lot, to quickly understand this aspect.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I see that when they hear it, they quickly go back and do their research. Right? And then the next thing is how their natural instinct of finding fault in other departments, of finding suboptimality in other departments, can be seen in a way to improve, and rather than saying, yeah,
it's useless.
Useless.
Yeah.
So you'll hear that word a lot. Right? And this whole aspect of what is in it for me? No, you are solving a problem. And what is in it for the people who are going to use it is most important.
It's a real mindset shift. I feel like this path, I don't think it's for everyone, because there is a lot of people interaction. And some people it drains their energy. Interacting with people, getting buy-in, thinking about political credit. When do I apply something, or when do I actually say, not my battle this time? But the people that can, I do think they are going to make a real big impact. It's very interesting.
I would add one more aspect. And a lot of awesome engineers have a think about solving alone. Team is like not naturally, wolf. And even if I want to create a team, everybody should be like me. But I don't think, even if you don't like the idea of managing people, the idea to appreciate what you're trying to achieve or what companies are trying to achieve itself can take them up the hierarchy where they're in part of the think tank. So I would say, as a great engineer, you should not aspire only to remain a one-man army unless you want to start a startup and change the world.
Which is very achievable nowadays.
Please do it.
Yeah.
Please do it. But then, if you are of that kind, then absolutely don't try to remain in an enterprise organization.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Go start something and change the world. And I'm pretty sure as you will build that thing, you will again need a different guy to run it as it becomes bigger.
Then because maybe more people.
Because then it is best that you slightly move and start another one.
Yeah.
Because the minute it becomes bigger, you have the same problem.
Some people do this, which you start. And they are very successful.
Very successful.
Yeah.
And not a bad idea. But if you are a great engineer and you want to remain in enterprise, you will, and if you're not learning these, then you slowly become a liability. Because everybody knows he's awesome, but nobody wants to really
interact
with you
at all.
And you slowly become a person who is hey, I don't know till when he's going to stay. Because you are not really impacting anything. It's the negative energy which is pulling through.
I like what you mentioned, that even though you might not manage people, you might not move up the hierarchy, if you are an individual contributor, very senior, you will still have influence and you will be part of an organizational think tank. Because I've had another person on, he's responsible for, he's VP of engineering at Samsara, Praveen, and he used to work at Uber as well. And he's saying that from projects that we have, some projects just have risk innately. And the projects with low risk, we can put an early in career person backed by an engineering manager, so to mitigate that risk. And early in career people, they can actually excel and learn on the job and actually thrive in projects, being responsible for that project and that piece of work. The work where we cannot afford any risk, that goes to the highest level, staff engineers that we have. It doesn't mean that the senior level is not good enough. It's just a risk mitigation factor. It's all business. So we want to mitigate risk. It goes to a staff engineer. That person is still responsible for individual contribution, can carry projects over the finish line, but they are not managing other people necessarily. And they are probably very happy with that, because that is organizational impact to the highest degree, where we cannot afford risk and you're responsible.
Yeah.
That's impact.
Yeah, you always need some of those. And those people were good enough to start their own companies, by the
They
way.
will, yeah, exactly. So you have to keep them happy with interesting work.
But that has to be a smaller percentage in an org.
Yeah, it cannot be everyone because the people
If
will
you
leave.
create an org which is full of those,
Yeah.
then the chances are it will have a counter effect.
They will leave, I also think, because you will not have interesting work for everyone if that's your whole
They will leave
engineering force.
and you will not get the outcome than few who can take you to the finish line.
Yeah,
So you have to balance that.
interesting. You always have had kind of a background in engineering, but you very consciously moved to CEO. You're CEO, not CTO.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So, see, I started as a tech, right? So I think it helped me later, but as I grew, what I began to see that I'm able to understand what customer is saying and was gravitating more towards that part. And a little bit of, destiny that, I did my MBA, and in those years, early 2000, once you do an MBA, your natural outcome was more towards, selling, customer interaction, solving customers' problem, and build the business. And that's what led me to more sales. So from tech to, a little bit of a pre-sales in between, then my studies, and then moving into sales. And what I realized that my natural ability to understand what customer is asking, and my small experience, 3 or 4 years, that's all, of doing tech is coming very handy because I'm understanding him and I'm able to explain how he should be thinking in a systems way was better than a guy who would only sell. And that gave me the first confidence that this seems to be a phenomenal area because I know tech enough to understand how to apply to solve his problem. I'm pragmatic. I'm not overdoing it. So when I hear that how much funding he has, he's funding, is it a maintenance kind of a thought process or is it revenue generating application? My idea of how we should approach the solution was naturally very attractive to the customer because they felt, okay, he understands a little bit of how we are funding it. So ultimately, it was something we discussed earlier. It was all about understanding how the money flows. Not that I was aware at that time.
But you were curious.
But I was curious because to sell, you must know that should I spend time with this person? Does he have the money?
That makes sense.
That obviously was making me curious about the money.
Yeah.
And that eventually helped me because as I grew further into sales, that got me curious more towards why projects fail. Even after funding, how are we not able to deliver? Why tech organization is not able to deliver on that? And that's where my interest in Conway law and some of those really became. What you want to build as a system is totally dependent on the communication pattern of the units which are building the system. Right? And I'll give you an example because this is a bit of an archaic concept that if you have a front-end team, you want to build an application system which has a front-end team and a back-end team. So how will the system look like? There will be a front-end architecture, there will be a back-end architecture. And what you really wanted was a more maybe unified architecture. So basically, since you created a silo of front-end team and back-end team, you actually got a system which has these two.
Yeah.
And if you had a security team, potentially you will have a security after the system is made. So your organization is, your system is totally reflecting the communication pattern of the units.
Is this also where most projects fail in the research that you did back then?
Oh, yeah. So the more I saw that, and I'm more like, okay, the more you create teams which definitive structuring, the more it begins to fail. It is failing by the nature of this communication and interfaces. So can there be a better model? And you will see, within our own company and others, we have tried to resolve quite a lot of that issue by bringing units together. In the end, if you want customer outcome, then the team should be simple. Outcome.
Yeah.
Right? So how you create, and I think, be it on the Spotify models and other models, you will see they have tried to solve some of these issues that, how do you organize? And that is why good tech, who are aware of some of these organizational structures and how the systems are made, can also be a big plus if those are the people who grow up to also decide how, based on what you need, how the org should be. Today, it's a non-techie guy or a non-software engineer who is deciding how should be the org structure.
Yeah.
So the problem starts really early. And that is why, Patrick, I'm again saying the best engineers, we have to maybe identify them early and take them into different subject areas.
Gotcha. Yeah.
If you really want to make a real impact. Otherwise, software development will continue to be called an expensive necessity where all your mind will be not on the outcome, but how to retain, how to keep them happy, and almost a entitled
It's like us versus them.
team. And that has to end.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Yeah. In a lot of people that ask questions, I can see they are early in career and they're asking what type of organization should I be in for me to grow and excel as fast as possible.
Yeah.
People are very ambitious, and I think early in career people more so because they have less responsibilities, no house, sometimes no pets, no kids, potentially no relationships yet on the longer term. So they can focus on their career and they want to really. And my advice to them is always go to an organization where tech is an asset, is a partner, is treated like such.
Correct.
Because you will have room to excel. People will give you space and time to grow.
Yes.
And you'll have a lot more responsibilities. If you are in an organization where it's really that us versus them and tech is a cost and a liability and we don't really trust them, I think it's too far gone. I wouldn't even know how to change that in an org. I would just be like, I'm not going to go there. I'll go here instead.
Correct. But it has to start now or start somewhere. Because with every company becoming a tech company, we have to get that culture of a tech startup where the right tech people are at the right hierarchy levels.
Enabled.
Yes. Otherwise, good software engineers are not coming into companies because they find the culture bad, because the culture has been going on for years. Right? I mean, who has moved up? And by the way, I'm not making a very sweeping statement. By and large, who has moved up the hierarchy? People who are not the best of engineers, but had a more appreciation of business, more little bit of being conformative to what management wants. Those are the people who moved up.
Easy to work with.
Yeah. So how are you thinking that they will appreciate the best of engineers?
No, it's like it will be cascading.
It has to start. And then, and with the world moving towards becoming a tech, it's important that this is resolved. And now with AI coming in, imagine what is coming, what is staring at us. Whole new way of building software and whole new way of what you want from AI. It's almost becoming human intent and values.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you bring an outcome of human intent and values when you build a software? Imagine the organization needed at that time. I still haven't thought it through.
It's very new.
But I'm very clear. Responsible AI. Bias need not be there. Right? And it's less to do with the engineering. It's the outcome which is beneficial to the society or the customers.
Yeah.
How should we organize it? Going back to the Conway's law, how will you organize the new world of tech organization? What kind of people are supposed to be at the top of the pyramid now? So these are, if you ask me, are the real thinking, which sometimes I'm trying to seek from the learned people from different places to understand how are people thinking, how are the gurus thinking, and how should we move our own companies to be in line with that, to be productive.
I talk to a lot of people and I don't have a single outcome yet. Everyone kind of figures out what works for their own context, and the only way they get there is through experimentation. What I have seen as advice for any engineer, and I also subscribe to that idea, is AI is a tool, right? And your value on top.
Yeah.
If the tool becomes good enough to replace you, then indeed, so if you copy whatever you get from a tool as outcome, and that's what you commit, or that's what you engineer in whatever software you're building, then you have no value on top.
Yes.
Then I might as well just have the tool and not have you.
Correct.
If you just copy paste and it turns out to be incorrect, then you're even worse.
Yes.
You're a liability.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to take ownership of that, and you have to bring value on top. And you can do so by having really good fundamentals. So actually seeing what the model has in outcome, seeing how it fits in your context, and seeing if that's a good match, doing reviews and more code reading than ever before, way more than writing.
Yeah.
So
Being aware
your
of
craft
privacy,
changes.
governance.
Yeah, all of that and much, much more.
Yeah.
And I think now more so than ever, understanding your business context and the problems you're trying to solve.
Yeah. I mean, I was, listening to one of the C-level people in US a couple of months back, and they build banking products, lending products.
Yeah.
And they want to implement AI. And here is the problem. They cannot have a situation because the lending product is priced based on who you are, your buying power, and all different kinds of, series of things. Based on that, the pricing is done. The worry is, if you create this AI model, which prices you, it begins to misbehave with respect to minorities. What will happen? How do you take that out?
Yeah.
Now, this is becoming an engineer's problem. If you look at it, it is suddenly becoming a very, very engineering problem. It has to be thought ab initio, not a much later thought.
Yeah.
So how are we going to manage that? Because AI will act now. It's reasoning and acting. So how are you thinking? So the awareness of great engineers around these aspects, with all the previous discussion we did related to how money functions and the org structures, all has to come together.
Yeah.
So it's even more intense now as I see the way the world is moving.
It's interesting. This problem was always a problem in machine learning, like how to get rid of bias. I feel like with the availability of large language models, it's just amplified because if you have better access, all of a sudden these problems also get then highlighted, which we still need to solve. Like all engineering problems are still there, and we have more complexity now, more so than ever, if we're trying to fit AI into tooling.
And as you said, you need the best engineers now because they must understand how LLM functioned. So unless you are a great engineer, you can't even understand how to interpret the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a question for you though, because as engineers kind of move out of their day-to-day, if I'm in my day-to-day and I'm an individual contributor, I stay on top of a lot of things and I'm productive on the keyboard and I know my tech, and I also what comes out with regards to frameworks or languages or tooling, infrastructure. I keep more up to date with regards to models as well, because that is what I'm responsible for. As I move up the ladder, this is where I've seen the biggest risk, where people that have had history in tech, potentially 5 years ago, sometimes even 10 years ago, still really rely on that fundamental knowledge. But the reality changes. So that's a danger for me. When someone has outdated information and they really act according, they might not listen to the signals of current day.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to prevent that other than actually, if people have a solid foundation moving up the ladder and still very much keeping up to date, either through personal projects or through just hands-on things, but really staying up to date.
And Patrick, what I felt, because in the early days, I used to have that phenomena of saying, let me check. But as you grow, you will not be able to catch up by having a private project running.
It's too much.
To see it by hand.
Yeah.
And that is when your fundamental grounding in that system thinking, with your ability to engage with your team to make a determination and creating an intuition of what you're approving or what you're saying should be the way forward becomes important.
Yeah.
So you will have to become intuitive. But then without fundamental grounding, you can't become intuitive. So what I feel, imagine a guy who is not a great engineer and has grown up. Imagine how he can create the problem.
Yeah.
So good engineers who were hands-on, spent a lot of time, understand a concept, and is able to, and when a new concept comes, is able to quickly relate and has ability to talk to his team a little bit in depth to understand how things have changed, will be the best ones to govern and move forward. But at some point of time, you have to go away from saying that unless I check it with my own hand, I don't get a sense.
It's like micromanaging.
Yeah. So you will have to build that intuition, and you'll be surprised because I went through that. Your intuition are not way too off. It's only the amount of homework you do after that to make sure your intuition, what are the adjustment to the intuition?
Okay.
And that confidence you'll have to take. That if a new concept has come, it's not that your historical background or grounding is not going to help you when you talk to and get into the real play and see what people are doing. It very quickly comes. And that intuition of a senior guy is so much helpful even to the younger ones, despite of you not being the expert of that new area.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
From your perspective, you must engage with a lot of C-level people, tech-level people, especially people that have grown up, that are really senior. They might even be strong-headed.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, either you have to say, okay, this is my vision and this is what we're going with, or you have to sometimes agree to disagree. Choose your battles accordingly. What makes you actually say, I'm going to agree to disagree and we're just going to go with the person that I trust on the technical level?
See, one thing is very clear. As you get into more and more general management, you have your intuitions, but you also begin to appreciate that there are people who could be thinking which is not naturally in your line of thought. And ability to judge it, make your own assessment, do some digging, spend time. And then you have to make assessment that maybe what they are saying is not intuitively exciting me, but it could be right. Right? So that's the first part.
Right for the
company.
company.
It could be right. It could be right of the company. Then the idea is fail fast.
Okay.
Give it, but test it. It has to be on one of the agenda on your desk to check if it's happening, because it can quickly spill money, which could have been deployed at something else. Because at every point of time, the money has to be prioritized.
Yeah.
Which one you want to move to build your company further. Then there are some which is very, I don't want to use the word cultural, but it is also about motivational. Right? I mean, there are, your engineers are always excited about something. Right? It could be for a conference. It could be for that we must dabble in, say, quantum. Right? I want to dabble in quantum.
Yeah.
Should you spend or not? Right? So intuitive could be, it's for future, let's try. So I will say yes, but manage it. The other one, conference. You don't believe this conference is important to you. But my engineers are super excited.
Yeah.
So I don't think this money is well deployed, but that excitement is also worth something to me. And hence you just say, okay, I don't like the idea, but please go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And this is also true with many POCs which people want to do. Many accelerators which people are trying to build. They get very excited. Oh my God, I'm going to build this AI accelerator and it is this. And once you go into deeper, like, I don't know how it is really going to be used by our customers because it has fundamental weaknesses. But the excitement of building that allows you to say, okay, let's fund it, or let's allow them to do it. But sometimes I also say that I also want you to do some, you offer your own time into this.
Yeah, of course.
Because if you're excited, then let it be both ways.
Interesting.
And then as it moves, you want to keep checking if it's really a brilliant idea. If it is brilliant, you want to immediately bring it into your fold and say, now I want to move it forward. It has happened to us, Xebia, all the time. You start with, I don't know what he's talking, to, this is making sense.
Yeah.
Let me show it to some of our customer, see the reaction while they are doing their hobby thing or what you didn't believe in. And then suddenly you realize, aha moment, my God, this has to be just hyper accelerated because this is huge value.
Yeah.
So this is where, sometimes you are intuitive, sometimes you don't, you completely disagree.
That's fair.
But you say, I'm moving forward with it. And sometimes it's purely for the motivational aspect. because that is equally important.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
If your tech guys are motivated about something, it's worth spending that money. I mean, by the way, I don't want to say that only for my engineers. If tomorrow my IT team wants to do something, I will have the same reaction to it. So I don't want to, or a people function team. Hey, why not? So I always want to say it's not about only engineers. It's also about every function in the organization.
Yeah. And is this your default? Because I feel like if you and I know each other better, if I've worked on things and I've delivered certain outcomes, you have a higher trust relationship in that whatever I'm pitching is going to have that same track record based on the person that you know and based on their track record.
Yeah.
If I come in with a blank canvas, we don't know each other. I don't have any political credit with you.
Correct.
And I pitch an idea.
Yes.
Is your default to have that same analysis?
Yes.
Excitement or business outcomes, fail fast, all of that?
I have the same.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who's the person. Yeah. You just want to, check it out. Nowadays, I also do one thing because quite a lot of our guys are reach out to me.
Oh yeah,
hey,
directly.
we are building this. We are building this. Yeah, I mean, my number is available to everyone, so it's on WhatsApp or Teams, and it becomes sometimes overwhelming to put your own mind. Then I say, okay, can you? So I call my team and say, hey, can you check with that guy because the excitement is high, and I did a very quick check in the flight. Looks like not a bad idea.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it means. So I have now begun to also ask other people do it. But 9 out of 10, I want to be involved because this is where you have a little bit of, I don't know, you call it micromanagement, but I feel as if I relate with great software engineers who are excited about something more than many I see within my own team also. So I feel that I am able to, sometimes I get excited by the idea that there's a guy who's coming with this. But I want to be as much involved as possible in those places.
It's probably like interest and curiosity and background.
Yeah. It is also, I think, the culture of our own company. I think our own company has grew through these, we have been a bottom-up firm. And I have a feeling that some of these, as a CEO, it's my job to keep an eye because innovations and the future revenue ideas will come from out of nowhere in any part of the world, rather than somebody thinking from the top.
It's not going to happen.
And that I have appreciated in Xebia right from day one. So I'm not going to miss that.
I'm really wondering, when I was responsible for product, I had certain people that would pitch ideas that I would think this is not going to work. And this is not going to work for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But because it's a low risk, I'd be like, okay, there's a learning opportunity for them, right? Either I am proven wrong or indeed it's going to fail and they learn from that. Yeah. Not just from a product sense, but also from a technical sense. Within the team, sometimes people could not agree on a certain solution direction. And I'd be like, well, let the person actually try and figure it out because that's the best way to learn, right? Yeah. Fail fast, but actually do it. Yeah. Don't prevent someone from making their own learnings based on your experience. The way they learn is to actually sometimes fall on your face.
Yes.
How do you handle those situations? Because a lot of stuff that comes to you is of a higher scale of magnitude, right? Which means failure can be more costly. But how do you view that? Do you still allow people to learn and fail from that perspective?
Absolutely. My only difference is I try to cut that idea into iterations. Because what I don't want, the whole idea of fail fast is about iterative thinking. So I almost ask them to iterate. What is the core of your thing which you want to build? Can I check if this is going to work? And you'll be surprised. Some of them, the minute you go to the core, that you have to first build this then. If you want to build this idea, you have to first build the difficult part. Almost 50% of the people don't go deep there. Because the overall idea was exciting.
Yeah.
The minute you say, no, I want to handle the most important and the complicated part first. Can you iterate on it? Almost 50% wins away.
Oh, really?
It's very surprising. You see, they will talk for some time and then it will fizzle out. And then there you have the rest 50% who are trying. And only maybe 1 or 2 are the ones who say that, see, it's iteratively working or 1 or 2 iterations have worked. And then you have to make a call.
You have to build it up. Yeah.
So that way you're also saving money for the company, that you're not just saying, okay, I'm going to invest, but you're also making sure the people with ideas are tested on ideas and tested on their passion. Because you have to sometimes test the passion part.
I have a final question, and it mainly has to do with something you highlighted previously. Sometimes I explain this hierarchy of the organization that I'm in, and people say it's quite flat, right?
Yeah.
I have a manager, then I have their manager as managing director of NL, and then I have you basically.
Yeah.
And I can send you a message on Teams or wherever.
Yeah.
I have no clue because I've never done that, how fast you reply.
Yeah.
But the fact that you say people reach out to me and they have ideas, that means you're accessible.
Yeah.
That also means you can get swarmed, right?
Yes.
I have a podcast, people approach me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I already get overwhelmed by the amount of people that reach out. So then within a company specifically, the person that you are,
Yeah.
CEO,
Yeah.
people will funnel towards you.
Yes.
How do you manage your time in general? You have very important stuff, customer stuff,
Yeah.
things that make the business run. You also have people that have excited ideas that you want to enable, that you want to highlight, experiment with and challenge.
Yeah.
How do you manage all of that?
Yeah, I think it does overwhelm me. And I have to find a way. So I still haven't figured it out.
I love that.
I still am passionate about people reaching out and giving ideas, or sometimes they say, can you give me 30 minutes? So they're not giving ideas. They say, I have something to talk to you for
Let's
30
jump
minutes.
in a call.
Right? So,
Yeah.
but I do it. And I know a time will come, as I told you, that on ideas, sometimes I'm forwarding to some of my directs to say, can you check it? But I always feel I'm missing. That feeling is overwhelming, which also makes you restless. So sometimes it's better to do it yourself. So at least restlessness won't be there.
Yeah.
But as we are growing, I will have to figure out a way.
Yeah. It's not scalable otherwise.
Yeah, it's not scalable. And I also don't want to create hierarchies for it, or go to that committee if you have an idea. Because then I know I will kill all the good ideas.
Yeah.
So I think as time moves by, I wonder if I should delegate more on the core business side and continue to be focused here, or should I delegate here and continue to focus on my core business, which is more important?
This is interesting. When my plate is full, I typically deprioritize the things that I actually don't enjoy, which I also don't think they are valuable.
Yeah.
Like valuable things that I don't enjoy, that I think are very important, I will still do. Because otherwise I can't do my job well.
Yeah.
I can't just work on what I think is important. But you are in a position to be like, no, I actually do want to focus on this because I think I add value here and this is what I can delegate to these people.
Yes.
I've never been in a position like that. I don't envy it because I want to do everything.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things that are fun, I would like to do everything, but time is finite.
Yeah.
So then you have to make decisions.
Yeah. No, I have the same problem.
Yeah.
I do have the problem of I haven't seen it, so I'm not comfortable. And that at some point of time has to reduce. And it's a learning, I think it's a bit of a learning journey for me. I think as we become bigger and bigger, I will be forced to think of an idea.
Yeah. You might have to let go of something you really like doing.
Yeah. But I do feel that in the job I am, listening to ideas from people in different corners of the world might have a higher value than some of the general management running the business part, which I think is more easily delegatable. So that's my current way of thinking, but currently I'm managing.
Anand, thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
Thank you so much.
This was
Patrick.
a real joy.
Yeah.
All right, we'll round it off here. If you're still with us, let me know in the comment section what you thought of this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.